Yeah, I wonder if he just like runs a 4.3 at the combine. If everyone's just gonna be like, "Oh shit, maybe we should just take him number one."
Yeah, he's
Yeah, I could definitely see him just blowing up his combine and then everyone being like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
doctors.
What's up, brother?
Dustin.
Yeah.
You remember Justin, the guy who did your golf fitting?
Yeah.
Check out the new spot.
Oh, sweet.
We just
Where's
opened,
that?
Nice.
just opened it.
Where is it?
Like Michigan Road and 86th Street.
Okay.
And I mean, not that you probably know where that's at, but it's like 10 minutes from the house. 10, 15. The hell are you doing, Foy?
Good. Just driving down 95, living the dream.
How's traffic?
It's actually fine. I'm cruising, but I'm going to a happy hour with a client. I didn't think I was meeting him until like 5 or 5:30. It's in Virginia.
I will.
But he hit me up today. He was like, "You want to go early and start at 3:30?" I was like, "Sure."
That sucks. You have to go all the way there, though.
Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass. Keep me occupied.
You said it's in Northern Virginia?
Yeah, it's in like Fairfax.
Yeah, it's gonna suck on the way home.
Oh yeah.
I ordered a mic. It's not coming until tomorrow, though. So next pod, I'll have better audio, hopefully.
Well, actually, this podcast isn't the issue. It's my real estate one. That's for some reason I thought Rogers was the one that said he had to go down to Virginia for a meeting, and I was gonna be like, the fuck do you have to go to Virginia for? Thought you managed an adult beverage establishment.
It's nice that the Zach Orr news came out like 10 minutes before we did the freaking podcast.
I mean, Dan Quinn.
Yep, I hear you.
All right, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
We can hear you.
Done.
Probably.
Is there a bunch of background noise?
No, I don't hear anything.
Perfect. You're good. If not, I was just gonna fix my gain. I'm pouring a drink. Did you see that outro I made?
No.
Actually, it turned out pretty good.
Was it on the last one?
Yeah, the one we did Monday or Tuesday.
One we did the other day. You should have seen me trying to figure out comps for these guys. I put in the thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my notes.
I figured if we're gonna start with the Orioles stuff, we might as well do the prospect stuff after that. Stick with baseball.
Or are we gonna wait on golf?
Are we gonna what?
Are we doing golf today, or are we waiting on that?
I think if we get through the Orioles and Ravens stuff and we're pushing 45 minutes, then we can probably just save it.
Because Justin's here.
I just think depends on how long we're going.
What am I missing?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. So, got my microphone. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Loud and clear? Yeah.
Loud and clear.
All right. So, I'm ditching the AirPods, obviously, duh. Bought the microphone that we talked about last podcast. It got stolen. So, I bought a Ring camera today.
What the fuck?
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
Oh my god, dude.
So I bought the Ring camera today. I was installing it about an hour and a half ago.
Huh. Is
Yeah.
Amazon refunding you or anything?
Yeah, everything's So Dell's jersey got stolen about 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever January 16th was, so 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The Gus Sinski one that I bought him.
Mm-hmm.
And then so they're remaking that. I'm not getting refunded. It's just getting remade, but it takes forever for that to happen. And then my microphone got stolen today. So fuck that. I mean, and I was right at Pig and Rooster. It wasn't like I was far away. So it could have only been sitting there for like 4 or 5 minutes till I looked at my phone.
Yeah. Damn.
Pain in the dick. So yeah, new Ring camera. Getting installed. Here's a fun tool.
How much was the Ring camera?
Like they're gonna
But the Ring camera was free. I just called my boss is the landlord. I just called him. I said, "Hey, look, here's the situation." He goes, "I got you. Don't worry about it." So he's buying for all of his properties. That's why 620 is on the box. It's my address. So what a pain in the dick, man.
Yeah.
I hate people.
Everybody knows your address.
Oh yeah, take that off the clipping, please.
All the people that listen to this.
Yeah. Come on over for a cocktail. Giddy up. And celebratory beads for today because the Ravens got sold.
That's awesome.
And also we're we support everybody. So I also got some ace suspenders. All kinds of fun things on his desk.
Whatever you need to do. I mean, this ownership can't be worse than the last ownership. So
there's no chance, man. No chance. All right. What a pain in the ass. Anyway, boy joining us, or is he on?
He's on. He's on 95 driving right now.
How's that?
I'm on 495.
Where's your headset? You looked like you should have been driving last episode.
I know. Left it at home.
The trees in the background are the same. They're staying the same.
They're not moving.
That's awesome.
I was just talking to Dell. He's pumped to join next week. He's having some fun with it.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's his son's birthday today. It's Jackson's birthday. He goes, I got to get him some stupid fucking cake. Like, what? Probably ice cream. I go, well, what does Jackson want to do tonight? Because he only says Jackson comes out for feedings. That's Dell's line because he just likes playing video games.
Yeah.
And so Dell goes, I don't know. He probably wants to do fucking nothing. So we'll probably just sit at the house. Like, cool. All right.
What do you guys want to do? Do you want to start with the Raven stuff and we can talk about DC with the boy and then get into the Orioles stuff? Or do you guys just want to do Orioles first?
I would say let's do Orioles and DC stuff first. And that way Foy can get back to going 12 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sean, where do you want to start, man? You want to start with the Dan Quinn stuff or you want to start with the Orioles stuff?
Sure. We could jump into the lovely news of Dan Quinn being head coach.
So, Sean, would you rate this a win or a lose for the Commanders?
I think it's a tie.
It's a tie.
Yes.
I mean, I don't hate it. The guy's been – people love him. He's apparently a really good defensive coach, though. His defense is in Atlanta stuck. And his offense is awesome when he had Kyle Shanahan, and then he left, and they weren't very good, and that's why he got fired. But everyone, players love him. He's a leader of men, which I fucking hate that quote. But I think it's just it's not. I don't think it's terrible. It's kind of uninspiring. Like I'd rather just take a swing on some young guy that is unproven. I'm also not a huge fan of hiring defensive head coaches in 2024, but I would be more cool. It's kind of clear they just kind of fell back on him. I think they really wanted Ben Johnson, and when he inexplicably decided to bail on them in Seattle, they were kind of scrambling. Like they didn't even fly Dan Quinn in on his own. Like the dude flew commercial. There's a picture of him in the TSA line leaving Dulles 2 days ago. Like they clearly weren't that in on him. I mean, I'm sure they like him and were interested in him, but I think it's fine. I mean, he put an awesome offensive staff together in Atlanta, so I'm sure he can put a good staff together. But if he does and they're any good, those guys will just leave. So you kind of start that hamster wheel of if you have a good offensive coach, you're just going to leave and you need to replace him every 2 years. But we'll see. I mean, if they underwhelmed to whelmed, definitely not overwhelmed.
Classic Commanders, not even flying your freaking interviews in. I mean, come on.
Why?
New ownership. What are we doing?
Well, I think he was just kind of an afterthought. Like, they flew to Detroit. They flew to Detroit to interview Johnson and Aaron Glenn. They did that whole thing, and literally one of their beat reporters was actually.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think we lost the audio. I'll say this.
Sorry, Sean. Your audio is kind of cutting in and out now.
Hey, man.
What about now?
I hear you.
Are you near the CIA? And by the way, we love Mormons on this podcast. Just want to throw that out there real quick.
Yeah, we love all people.
We definitely promote multiple wives.
I mean, in my personal perspective, is with the new regime, you have time to make a decision, and especially with all of these people out there, why rush it? There's no reason to. Because the Senior Bowl's fucking going on? I mean, your GM apparently loves Dan Quinn, but that's great. Why not one of these younger guys? Why not Vrabel?
Well, I don't think they rushed it. Like, they're the last team to hire someone, but a lot of people wanted Vrabel. Apparently, Vrabel has been labeled, whether it's not right or wrong, someone that wants a lot of say in personnel, which they're not going to do. That, like, Rivera ran everything and it was terrible. New guy just won. So I think that's why Vrabel wasn't a candidate for a bunch of these jobs. But I mean, like, I'd rather go after like a young assistant somewhere, especially on the offensive side. But whatever. I don't think it's terrible. I just think it's boring and safe. Like, I think either way, like, personnel team, but it's still not like exciting.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now, by the way?
It wouldn't be exciting.
Yeah. It really feels like an Anthony Weaver really would have fit in here. First-time head coach, would listen, but also I guess it's a relationship-based business.
Yeah. Like, I think Quinn's tight with Shanahan. I'd be surprised if they don't hire Brian Greasy or Clint Kubiak or someone from San Fran to be their offensive coordinator. But I would have been cool with Weaver, and then you're kind of following that trend of ex players that don't have a ton of experience, but like are young and players love, like, Aaron Glenn and Antonio Pierce and D'Amico Ryans. But this wasn't in the cards. So when they inevitably fire him in 3 years, we'll see what they do then.
Why don't you just hire Clinton Portis? Heard he's a good human being.
I would be all in. He's the run game coordinator.
Yeah, he could wear those goofy ass outfits he used to wear in your post game interviews too. That'd be fun.
And everyone would get a car from Eastern Motors.
Yeah, got your credit. But I mean, just to sum it up, I pretty much accepted 2 days ago that this is probably the route it was going to go, and I'm more, I'm interested to see who he brings on the offensive side and who they can hire, and then I'll just spend 6 months convincing myself that it's not a disaster.
Well, like you said before we went on air, it really just comes down to whoever you take into a quarterback. Whoever is he going to be good or not? Because if he's good, then Dan Quinn's safe, whatever.
Right.
But if he's not good, then you start all over again and do the normal Washington.
And even if you think he's an offensive genius, but if you draft a dud, that doesn't matter.
Winning is the best deodorant. The best thing that ever happened to Mike McCarthy was fucking Aaron Rodgers. And then Aaron Rodgers leaves him and all hell breaks loose. So it's if you bring in a good quarterback, you bring in a Drake May, you bring in a Caleb Williams, or even the Jaden Daniels kid. If he wins, you're going to look like a fucking genius.
Yeah. Agreed.
You guys want to shift to some Orioles news?
I think we spent enough time with the Commanders. Hell, the Commanders barely spend any time on themselves.
You guys excited? We got a new ownership.
New
ownership.
Let's fucking
go.
All right. What's our total?
I am so happy this happened.
So far, it's the two private equity people, Ripken, Grant Hill's involved.
Grant Hill, Ripken, Bloomberg, who used to be the mayor of New York. Kurt Schmoke used to be mayor of Baltimore. Are the guys that have been announced so far? I've heard of.
I thought Kurt Schmoke was dead. I really thought he was dead.
I I'd never heard of the guy. So, but yeah, it seems like there's going to be a lot more people that come out minority stakes. They haven't really said, other than Rubenstein being the control person, they haven't really said what the who gets what percentage of the team and how that works. I assume Ripken and Grant Hill and those guys are going to be pretty small percentages of the deal. But
Yeah,
look, it's
sure
a
they have
local guy, and he seems like he's committed to keep the team in Baltimore and spend some money. So I couldn't be happier.
What do we know about Rubenstein? Does anyone know anything
So
other than he runs the Carlisle group?
Private equity guy, Nats with Ted Leonsis, but with the whole Masson deal, the Nats sale is like a mess, and the Lerners are like a nightmare to deal with. So it never worked out. But I mean, he's in his 70s, so like he seems like he'll probably be a older guy who wants to hopefully pour a bunch of money in and not do the only like thing. I'm not worried about it. Do it my way when like, hey, the way things are working on the baseball side is pretty seamless. They just need cash. So, hopefully they just keep it rolling and kind of provide the financial support that the Angelos has never had and probably never would have. But
That's the big thing, right? I mean, let's take the leash off of Elias,
I mean, as much as John Angelos is a clown, and don't get me wrong, he's a clown. He did at least hire, an awesome front office and stayed out of their way, and it's clearly worked. Now, he then needed to go to the next step, take the extra mile and provide them with funds, which he wasn't doing. He's just a douche and kind of embarrassing. But hopefully Rubenstein can always use help. They don't make as much money as they probably should. So it's exciting. I mean, I did see some like national people who just aren't guy that's going to be a disaster because he's going to tear it down and build it up. They're like tear everything apart because that's what private equity guys do. But I mean, the infrastructure's there. It's an awesome team to buy. Like, it seems like a perfect situation.
I'm wondering if right now with all these teams being sold, some for different reasons, some because they're forced out. I wonder if these real estate prices, and Brooks, this might come to you, and I'm going to ask this question, or maybe comment is directed toward you. Are these numbers that these teams are getting bloated?
I mean, I feel like that was a great deal. 1.75 million. I thought they'd go for more than that.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's low.
I mean, they don't own the property.
Who does? The Maryland Stadium Authority?
The state, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing why the lease was held up forever, is because Angelos is trying to get the rights to all the property around it to build that up, and he wasn't really able to get it. And I'm sure that was part of the reason he's more willing to sell, because he wasn't able to get what he wanted. I mean, they were kind of kicking the can down the road on in 5 or 10 years they can renegotiate for those development rights. But yeah, it'll be pretty interesting to see what happens. What's crazy, the deal makes sense. They're kind of doing what Bisciotti did with Art Modell, where he buys a certain amount and then gets the rest when the current owner dies. But it sounds like when it gets voted on in like a week or two at that owners meeting, that they just flip a switch and he's going to be the point guy, which sounds crazy that as of a week, we had 3 days ago, we had no clue this was happening outside of that random report in December. And then now, in a month, there might be literally someone else calling the shots.
It really should be as easy as moving bank accounts over right now. I mean, as far as decision making goes, nothing much. There shouldn't be anything that's changed unless it's something big, as far as going to get somebody and getting the approval to go do it.
Right. You would think nothing would change for Elias and that side of the business, except hey, you have a different person to report to, 50% higher or whatever it is.
Yeah. What's the tax reasoning? There's got to be tax ramifications associated with this. Once again, I'm going to Brooks on this one. What does that mean exactly? I mean, obviously I understand taxes, but why? Why, when someone passes away, the taxes change?
To avoid capital gains tax if you inherit the business. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know the business side, the business capital gains tax on that. Also, not CPAs here, but there's ways to either kick the can down the road with that kind of stuff. And I know there's some inheritance stipulations as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I know there's an inheritance tax, but I remember reading when they were when the Angeloses were suing each other like a year ago, there was like reports saying that Peter had said for years, like when I die, I want, we want to sell, I want the team to be sold. And all the speculation was that they wouldn't sell until because of like a capital gains tax would be massive and they couldn't really afford it because they're kind of broke outside the team. Because I think the law firm, like asbestos law, isn't really a thing anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it's over my head, but obviously there's got to be a reason they're doing it this way. So it's got to make sense.
Did anybody? I mean, shame on us, I guess. But did anybody watch any of Ryan Ripken's podcasts the last couple of days? If he's put one out, I wonder what he's actually had to weigh in on it at all.
I have not. Be very interested.
He was on the radio yesterday with Jason Lockenfora. I listened to part of it. He kind of played stupid. Like I think he was on right before the team put out the press release, and he had just said like, these things take time, and I know like my dad has wanted to be involved since the day he retired, and if that's what happens, that would be all. Like he kind of was just very generic. Now I'm sure he's probably more because then like an hour later, Cal tweeted about it, and Amanda is the one who put the tweet together for him. Because she works for Maroon PR, which represents Cal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to see. There's a ton of articles. Like, there's a big article in the Post. Rosenthal wrote a big article about it. So did Buster Olney on ESPN, just about how like this is the absolute perfect time for someone to buy this franchise because it's kind of like a sleeping giant where you've got this ballpark everyone wants to go to, but they haven't done business wise, and now the team's awesome. And
the seeds are planted. I mean, the seeds are planted and they're growing, and you can already see them grow. And there was also, and I don't blame Ryan Ripken for actually being coy on this, because there was a major rumor that the owner of Ollie's Outlet, I forget his name, I want to say it was Mark something, and Cal were in cahoots together to buy it from Peter Angelos maybe 3 or 4 years ago. My numbers are going to be off for sure, but that they were in the process of doing it, and then the majority stake, the guy from Ollie's Outlet, passed away, unfortunately. And so Cal kind of got burned. And so I have no problem with, and not that it was my problem, but I understand why people would want to be coy until something is announced officially.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, pretty cool. And I'm sure there's going to be a million more minority partners. I mean, like with the Skins, their main partners, Josh Harris is their owner, but he only owns 30% of the team. And the rest are like Magic Johnson owns like 1%. Like, and there's like 50 of them.
Salad or something like that too.
It's the Jay-Z factor. Remember when like it was so big when the New Jersey Nets moved to Brooklyn, and it was like, oh, come play for Jay-Z, and Jay-Z owned like 0.75%. It's like, yeah, you're coming to play for not Jay-Z, you're playing for some other guy, some Russian, oligarch.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan has to be legally can't say a bunch about it right now anyway.
Yeah.
100%. What do you guys think this is going to do with Masson? Because Masson is part of the deal. What do you guys think how do you think that's going to affect the O's and Nats relationship? How is that going to affect basically the Nats in general? And what do you guys think? Does anybody have any knowledge on this?
Before commenting on the actual Masson thing, I think what this immediately does, once Peter Angelos passes away, is gets us an all-star game. We haven't had an all-star game. I think Seattle's had 2 since we had one. I think this immediately gets us an all-star game.
Yeah, I would think it would help with the Masson deal. Like, the new owner inherits it, so it's not like the deal just goes away, but he's tight with Leonsis. Leonsis owns Monumental Sports. I'm sure they could do something to merge the two or, like, get rid of it. Like, I would imagine it's probably still pretty far down the road to figure those things out, but I would think, like, this is good for the Nats, too, because they've been trying to sell their team, and the Masson deal, I think, has pretty much held that up. So
they still have litigation going on in that as well. I think there's still a lawsuit going on with Masson.
They do, but I think it's time frames they were trying to figure out. They came to an agreement on one of them, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of that shit is super complicated, but I would think it's got to help. And I would imagine Major League Baseball is gonna approve this deal with like the kind of like a wink, wink, like, hey, but we're gonna let you buy the team, but we need to figure this shit out.
Yeah, because right now Foy's moving faster in 495 than this fucking litigation is, and so
I'm moving now.
I can see.
He's flying.
With that,
So, like, what was it, like 5-6 years ago when Ripken was supposed to be selling the Ironbirds? Did that fully go through, or did he just sell partial? Do you guys remember that?
I remember.
That I don't remember.
Or does he
No.
still own them?
I think he's still involved somehow, but I'm not 100% sure how involved.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I know when he sold part of the Ripken Foundation that there was a bunch. I'm not going to call it a mass exodus, but some of the people that I'm friends with, they left the Ripken Foundation almost immediately, went to other foundations because Cal was leaving. So I don't know who the hierarchy is there. I'm not saying it's Billy. I doubt that highly. But yeah, when he sold part of the franchise, I mean, there was a little bit of a panic.
Quiet for right now.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, look, we got Mike Elias, who seems like he's doing a great job. Obviously, we've got a new ESPN prospect list that came out a couple days ago, and we got 7 Orioles in the top 100. You can't be any happier with the product he's been putting out with a limited budget. Now that he's got a big budget, I mean, sky's the limit. It seems like I'm as excited as I could possibly be.
Just open a Dominican facility.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah, it was awesome.
Yep.
Wait, we opened a Dominican facility? The Orioles
Yeah,
did?
they've been talking for
2 weeks
years
ago.
about building like an actual full facility down there, and they just like did the ribbon cutting. It's a first for them. I think they had
Wow.
something kind of like ragtaggy down there, but yeah, now it's like this big, super nice, with like dorms and like a facility for these kids that are playing in the Dominican Summer League for them to like actually train at and live and like kind of help cultivate these young kids that you're signing at 16.
This sounds like a Premier League soccer kind of venture where they have these camps, clubs, and they, for lack of a better term, groom these kids. I don't want to make it sound like something that's not, but
Yeah.
Is this a first in baseball, or
No,
is this a first for the Orioles?
No, there's others down. Cool to see. I mean, those kids you sign aren't going to be impactful for years, but that's how you like keep the pipeline going.
Sure. If it's okay, Dusty, I want to go down the list one by one. That way we can get Sean to make sure he doesn't wreck his car into somewhere on 495 and some whatever Temple. Jackson Holiday. Is he the starter at shortstop next season to open the season?
God, I hope so. I mean, he did nothing last year, but absolutely torched the minor leagues. His player comps, in these player comps, I'm going to give small player comps for every player. Take them with the grain of salt. Their top end projections, their best case scenario outcomes. Obviously, every player is not going to be Barry Bonds, but reminds me a lot of Tulo. He reminds me a lot of Gunnar. He's just great at everything. He's great to amazing at everything. There's no weak spot. If you'd say the worst part of his game is his defense, and he's still an above average defender at shortstop. I think, putting him at short, leaving Gunnar at third, and, mixing in some of the younger guys at second, Westberg, Ortiz, Urias can obviously get in there. And then Mateo is the ultimate utility man off the bench, which is really where he should be. We saw him. He gets hot in stints, but he shouldn't be starting 100 and some games. You know what I mean? He's the perfect utility guy off the bench. He can run. He can make things happen on the base pass, and he's great on defense, which is exactly what you want on the bench.
What's everyone's favorite part of his game, if anyone's seen him play? If you guys are going to go round table, favorite part of his game?
I have not seen him play outside of just like watching him on like MLB TV on those couple of like highlighted games that were on. It sounds like his best aspect is just, it sounds so scouty. So forgive me for sounding like a tool. Just sprays, line drives. Like, I think his power is not there yet. Like he doesn't have the power Gunnar had at his age, but I think I can't wait to watch him. I think there's a very good chance he makes the team out of camp. I also think if you've got a bigger budget, that probably gives you a little more ammunition to have him make the team too, because you're probably less worried about, trying
Team
to get
control.
that final year if you think you're going to extend him.
Yeah.
I do think there's let's say he does make the opening day roster. I wouldn't be shocked if he's playing second and they let Gunnar be the main shortstop, but they move them all around a lot. Like it's because him, Westberg, and Holiday can play everywhere. But yeah, I'm pumped. Yeah. Like I can't wait to watch him. It's what's crazy is a lot of people want it. It's just crazy how
Jeez.
well, and Holiday was not, Adley, which was like a no-brainer at one. Like it was like a pretty healthy debate who they should take. And obviously they took the right guy.
Yeah.
Brooks, what's your favorite part of his game? If you've seen him play at all, and if you haven't, that's okay.
Same as Floyd, just highlights. But I mean, the kid just looks like he mashes stuff from past ownerships and everything like that. But I mean, I just think the numbers they put up last year are just too insane to deny. I mean, it didn't matter where you put him. I actually thought he might get up before the end of last year, at least for a couple of bats. But
Kelsey, you got anything on this one?
Yeah, I just think his like what Boy said, his hit tool and his approach at the plate. I saw him play at Delmarva a few times. I live in Ocean City, so it's a quick drive from me. And he just he just pops at the plate. His hit tool when he makes contact and he gets it, it just sounds different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me, I'm going to answer my own question. My favorite part of him is his background. I love that his father was a major leaguer. I think he grew up knowing how to play the game and knowing how to understand the game and how the game isn't bigger than him, or how he is not bigger than the game. Having that team background, just like you kind of see with Patrick Mahomes, to kind of go, I don't know if it's apples to apples, but close enough. Patrick Mahomes grew up, his father played Major League Baseball. His godfather is Troy Hawkins. Having that background, knowing how to handle yourself, I think is so important.
He saw how to do it.
So that's my favorite part of his game, and it's not even part of his game. It's more of his. It is his mentality. That's my favorite part of him. I'm going to move on to Colby Mayo, third baseman, number 19 ranked in the prospect list. I have a different kind of question for you guys with Colby Mayo. Is Colby Mayo an Oriole at the end of this season?
I'm going to say prospect at the end of the season. Like, dude has shot up in the last year. He's a high school kid that they took in the third round. If you can envision him, I think his ceiling is, I don't know about ceiling, but I think my hope for him is he's a better Mountcastle, right-handed third baseman / first baseman who's probably not great defensively, but can just mash and has stupid power. If Jackson Holiday is untouchable, and he clearly is, I don't think Mayo's far behind him. I think you would need to get a ace who's under control for 3 years to move Mayo. I think they like him. I could be wrong. They could trade him tomorrow, but
if they haven't been willing to trade him yet for the C steal, and it doesn't sound like they're going to. Him or
it seems like they're more likely to move Norby or Ortiz at this point than Mayo. But I have his player comp. If you watch, if you watch a lot of baseball, we all obviously all do. Austin Riley, not great defensively at third base, but just absolutely freaking mashes. He's got unbelievable potential power wise. He gets on base at above average rate. He's got defensive question marks. From everything I've read, he significantly improved last year defensively, good enough to stay at first base and not just kind of pigeonhole him at first.
Yeah, I think he's got a cannon.
Yeah, and he's got an arm. He's got a cannon for an arm, and he's 6'5", so he's huge. It seems like he would be a very exciting prospect at third. It's just we've got Westberg, we've got Urias, we've got a lot of guys that he's going to have to compete with. And it's just at some point we're going to have to make a move. So to Brian's question, yeah, is it possible that we move him? 100%. But yeah, like Foy said, we're going to have to get somebody with team control and somebody who's an absolute stud, and it would have to be a pitcher, I would imagine.
Yeah,
I
would
and
agree.
To their credit, he's a guy they got, I think, in the third round because they took Kerstad at 2, which everyone freaked out about because no one had ever heard of him. But he went like under slot. They saved that money to go get a couple guys in the third and fourth round that probably shouldn't have been there, and he was one of them. They overpaid him. And now looking back on it, he was probably a top 25 prospect that they got 80 slots later than they probably should have. So he's, just goes to show how hard it is to develop young kids, and it's all, a gamble, but he looks like he's going to be a stud.
Yeah, that's why I love all these knee-jerk reactions after NFL, MLB, any of these drafts, because nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the fuck's going to happen. I mean,
right.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Except me. I always know.
Oh,
yeah.
Of course. All right, now I'm going to move on to the next guy. I might even mispronounce his name. Samuel Basallo. Who the fuck is this guy? That's all. That's my question. Who the fuck is this guy? And Sean, I know you have a little bit of background on him. It sounds like we actually pulled him out of a fucking manhole cover. Like, what in the hell?
So,
Go fire away, Sean, please.
Basallo. He's a pitcher. He's a catcher international signing a couple years ago. He was pretty highly thought of like a year and a half ago, and then he just had a bomb ass year. He's 19, so I mean he's a kid, but he's like 6'5", lefty catcher, like good defensively, not great, but just mashes. He's probably someone that, like, I mean, they maybe moved to first, or we've had the number one prospect for 3 straight years. There are some people I think they could have the fourth, and it would be him. Like catchers that can hit, don't grow on trees. He's super young. I think he made it all the way up to AA last year. So I mean, he's now starting to face really good competition that he never had. But
this seems like a younger version of a Ryan Mountcastle. And if Mountcastle has less team control, why not keep this fella and flip Mountcastle? But maybe, teams aren't stupid. They'll want a guy with more team control. Also, I love his player comp, or at least his. I would never want to read this to him in person.
If he was on Madden, his speed would be like 10. He is so slow. But guess what? He's a catcher who mashes. So who gives a shit how slow he is? Yasmani Grandal can't run for shit either, and he's been a great catcher for the last 5-10 years. He made it to AA as an 18-year-old, which is absolutely obnoxious. Between the 3 levels that he played at last year, he hit 313 with 20 homers. I mean, as an 18-year-old kid, these kids who are 18 are playing high school baseball. Like this kid is playing professional baseball players and just dominating them. He's got a cannon of an arm behind the plate. He's not great, but the robot umps are going to hide most defensive deficiencies for most of these catchers. And like Foy said, look, if he doesn't work out behind the dish, we already have the best defensive catcher in baseball anyway. You can put him at first base. You can let him DH. You can let him catch on off days, kind of do that kind of thing. I don't think he'll make it to the bigs this year. He's 19, like we just said. He just turned 19. But yeah, he's shooting up rankings, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, like Foy said, if he's in the top 10 on this list when it comes out next year.
You said something that was so wise, and I never thought about this. Robot umps will absolutely affect catchers' ratings, because you don't have to work on your framing anymore. You don't have to work on the twist of the glove. Never thought about it like that. That's so smart.
Yep, you got to have a good arm and got to be able to block the ball. Other than that,
and your name's got to, your name's got to be Kaiser Sose. I mean, this guy, I've never heard of him before. Who the fuck is this dude?
Yeah, I have his player comps as like a Salvador Perez, big power, pretty slow. Salvador Perez, a much better catcher behind the plate. I also put down Javi Lopez. Orioles fans might not like that, but I think the Braves made like 15 straight playoff appearances in the 90s, and Javi Lopez was the catcher for like 10 of them.
Yeah, he was awesome in his prime.
Yeah, he's a great power hitting catcher. Wasn't a great defender. Just seemed like and he's a big guy. It just seemed like
Maybe
a
he's
pretty
like a
good comp for an
better
Oriole fan.
Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
That's where I was going with it. That's right. When I read these player comps, I was thinking Gary Sanchez, especially when I hate to say it again, slow as shit on the base pass and not great behind the dish. You really think Gary Sanchez? Just swing for the fucking fences, bro.
Yeah. Hopefully his prime of hitting can last a little bit longer than Sanchez's did, which was like 2.5 years basically, and then he kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah. Brooks, you want to add anything to this, or are you good on Kaiser Sose?
Got nothing for you.
All right. Moving on to probably the most controversial pick of the Mike Elias era is Heston Kjerstad, number 48 in the ESPN baseball rankings. Anyone have any feelings on Heston? I remember seeing him play at Arkansas in that freshman year and just dominating in the CWS. Anybody have anything they want to add on him, what they think about him in regards to hitting? I know he's more of a hitter than he is a fielder.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. I'm excited to see like a full year of him. I mean, he came up at the end of last year, flashed a little bit, hit. He's got stupid power. He was out of baseball for like damn near 2 years. Got drafted during COVID and then had the heart thing, which kept him out for like a year and a half. And so like he's really still kind of getting in the groove. He had an awesome year last year and flew through the system. He's he should make the team out of camp and be like your starting right fielder or like your fourth guy who probably plays 3-4 days a week. So excited to see what he can do with a full year.
He's a classic power hitting right fielder. Yeah, he's a classic power hitting right fielder. I think Jay Bruce. Think like 25 to 30 home runs. He's probably not going to lead the league in average, 250 to 260 kind of guy, but huge potential power and an everyday player in right field. I mean 303 with 23 homers from Double-A to the majors last year. I mean, and it's basically his first full season after taking 2 years off with the heart problem, as Foy said. I'm excited.
What concerns me with him is it looks like he might have maxed out. Like he is exactly who he's going to be the rest of his career. There is no more growth. That's my personal opinion. Seeing that I don't see any growth from the time he was a freshman at Arkansas until the time where he is now. That's my biggest concern. Now, I hope I am wrong, but just seeing where he was. Now, I will say he is a dominant figure. He looks like a bigger version of Gunnar Henderson in terms of body style, hair.
Yep.
Love the lettuce. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But he just seems like he is a maxed out guy. And once again, hope I am wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he's never going to win an MVP or a batting title, but if his max is 250, 320 OBP, and he's hitting 35 home runs and playing at league average to above average right field, like you'll take that. That's a middle of the order.
Give me 8 years.
Absolutely. Yeah,
he's never going to be the best player, but he's probably a streaky guy that he's kind of like Mountcastle. Like, I think his ceiling is better than Mountcastle as a hitter, but like, a power guy that can, carry the team and probably in streaks and go from there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he's never going to, he's not going to be like a Gunner or an Adley or a Jack or Holly who's like, going to get MVP votes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to move on because I know we got about 10 minutes left in this. We got to get to a couple other things.
Oh, yeah.
Colton Cowser. How do we feel about him? Anyone got a quick thing on Colton Cowser, please?
I think he's got a great eye. I think he's a good contact hitter. Obviously struggled at the major league level, but it was a small sample. He was great all throughout the minors. Reminds me a lot of like Marlins Christian Yelich. A pretty good hitter, not a great outfielder, but he's serviceable. If you need him to play center, he can, but you probably should put him in the corners. Yeah. I other than that, that's pretty much all I have to say about him.
Okay, yeah, I can see him not being an Oriole by the end of this. Yeah, I think he's getting flipped. I think along with probably a Joey Ortiz, who's up next on our list, but I think I can see him not being an Oriole just based on what we have going on within our farm system and what's already up in the big leagues.
Yeah, if he doesn't see some kind of improvement here, he's kind of get pushed out.
Yeah.
100%.
On to Joey Ortiz real quick, guys. He is my version of Jeff Rebele. I see the player comps that you guys have here. He is Jeff Rebele without the pencil-thin mustache. I do like him as a person. I've actually met him in person. He's very nice. I just don't see a lot here for him, even though baseball and ESPN seem to love the hell out of him. But he did not really show in the major leagues last year. And I understand he was a rookie, but it almost seemed like he was lost and didn't know what shape the baseball field was in.
He's awesome defensively. Like, I think he could be a utility guy for 10 years. I'm up with Mateo right now. He would be a better utility guy than Mateo because I think he's better defensively. But he's someone you should probably flip. Like, if someone gave him at bats every day, he could probably be solid, but they don't have a spot for him. So I think he's not long for this.
I do love the Melvin Mora comparison, except he doesn't have any children.
Not yet.
Yeah, I just figured Melvin Moore because he's pretty good at everything, not great at anything in particular. Seems to strike out a lot more, chase a lot of pitches. But yeah, like Boy said, good glove, versatile in the infield, would be a great utility kind of guy. But with the talent the Orioles have, I don't see him moving the needle for us.
Fun fact, he played in college with Kyle Radish. They're on the same team.
No shit.
Yep.
Didn't know that.
No shit. Brooks, anything on this one?
No, I mean, I heard the comparison to Mateo. I mean, you know my feelings on him.
Yeah. Enrique Bradfield, our most recent Enrique Bradfield Jr. I'm sorry, our most recent draft pick. I know nothing about him other than he looks really, really, really good in Vanderbilt colors. So I have absolutely nothing on this human being.
He's insanely fast. Sorry,
yeah.
If you want to go lead it off, Dustin, my bad.
Yeah, he's an 80. If you're not familiar with baseball scouting, the ranges are from 20 to 80. He's an 80 base runner, 80 in terms of speed. He's as fast as shit. I think he was a 75 defensively outfielder as well. He's fast as shit. He's Kenny Lofton. He's Juan Pierre. He's going to track down everything. He doesn't have a great arm, but his exit velocities are low. But he's also super young, and he just is going to steal the shit out of every base and play great defense. And hopefully they can develop some pop and get him into that Brian Roberts 45 doubles in the gap kind of thing.
Good,
would be perfect.
Yeah, he's insanely fast.
Yeah. What's the difference there?
Say it again.
What's the difference between Mateo and Bradfield? Now Bradfield obviously is not going to be coming up for at least a year. At least
it's going to be
probably 2.5.
Yeah.
And Mateo will be gone by then.
A lot of people think they can turn him into a pretty good hitter. I think he grades up pretty well on swing selection. He walked a ton in his brief stint last year in the minors. He's gonna steal. He's gonna steal and be for a World Series contender. He's not gonna hit, but he's a better center fielder than Cedric right now.
Cedric, please avoid the trucks, dude. By the way, we don't want you getting hit by a truck.
We are not rooting for that at all.
Use
Cedric
the crosswalk.
is the heart and soul of our team. We do not want anything bad to
look
happen
both ways.
Hit the button on the damn light post, man.
From what I've read, they said he started to he's improving these guys as hitters. So if he can hit, I think he could. He's like a Kenny Lofton, Juan Pierre, maybe a better Denard Span, but crazy fast, really good defensively. Never going to be hitting in the
super regional. I remember seeing him play. I didn't know that the Orioles were going to draft him at the time, but he just had, for lack of a better term, he had moxie. He just seemed like he knew where he was. He knew who he was. Kind of a guy who his dick walks in the building 20 minutes for his actual body does. He just seemed like he knew who he was, and I appreciated that from him. And then I was glad when the Orioles drafted him. But I have no idea how he plays baseball. I just saw him on deck or on I'd turn the TV on when he's already on second base. And he seemed like a guy who didn't grow up on second base. It's like he earned the double.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's probably someone who if he never hits, he's probably still your fourth outfielder who can play a couple days a week. But if you can get him to hit, he could be an all-star. It's both ends of the spectrum. But he'll be fun to watch either way. I'm definitely interested to see if he can take that big step that a lot of their draft picks take when they get a full off season here.
Cool. Well, I think that's our Orioles roundup right there on our prospect list. Well, all I'll say is this: it's a very, very exciting time for the Orioles. I mean, to be an Orioles fan, we've been the armpit of the league for a very, very, very long time. And thank God we're not that anymore. With new ownership and with this prospect list we just went over, I mean, how we're talking about wheeling and dealing people. We got new money coming in. That's fantastic. And it should thrive for the city's business. It should thrive for the city's mentality. And it's really nice for the first time to understand that one of the worst run franchises in professional sports shares a parking lot with one of the best run franchises. And now we can say that we're two really good run franchises. And so that's very nice to be able to say.
Hopeful.
Agreed.
And we need to go across the parking lot, talk about the Ravens real quick.
Yeah.
So we lost our stud defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald. Good for him. And clap round of applause for Mike McDonald. 6-year deal for the 36-year-old coach to go to Seattle. I can't remember ever hearing of a coach that young getting a deal that long. I think Seattle's got a lot of confidence in him. What do you guys think this means for Seattle in the short term?
I think this tells you a lot about what John Schneider feels about himself. The fact that he feels very comfortable giving this man a 6-year deal reminds me a lot of when Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch went into San Francisco. They both got 6-year deals. That's the last time I can remember this. So this deal spoke more to me about John Schneider than it did Mike McDonald. It also tells me that John Schneider is very confident in Mike McDonald. And I think they were really targeting him from the get-go. You see that video of him walking into the facility, it almost looked like he was already family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think Schneider and that Seattle front office, that's like their makeup. Pete Carroll was a defensive leader of men kind of guy. You know, they've got a couple studs on their defense. Witherspoon, that rookie, is awesome. I'm interested to see what they do on offense because they've got obviously some stud receivers, and you know, Geno's not great, but he's Michigan, or maybe he plucks like T. Martin or someone from Baltimore. Or I'm always curious with these super young guys, like how they can build a staff because they just don't have the connections. And McDonald hasn't coached at any other NFL team, but obviously, you know, he's part of the Harbaugh tree. He's going to have a lot of options. But yeah, I think it's a good move for them. This
has Cliff Kingsbury written all over it to come in as the OC. That's my personal opinion. Former head coach, coaches offense.
We have to assume he's going to be calling the defense at least for the first couple of years, right?
You would think so.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too.
I mean, his only downfall right now is who's he going to get to follow him right now?
Yeah,
I mean that's with any young guy. So
yeah.
Well, they got a lot of young talent. Like you said, Witherspoon. They had Tariq Woolen too, who's a 6'4" corner they took in the 3rd or 4th round a couple years ago, and he was a stud as a rookie as well. What do you guys think? We just hired maybe 45 minutes ago, as we're recording this on Thursday. We just hired Zach Orr. The Ravens just hired Zach Orr as the new defense coordinator. You guys surprised it was not Anthony Weaver? Do you think this means Weaver is going to be going somewhere else, or do you think he'll stay? How do you guys see this shaking out?
I think this solidifies that Weaver already has a deal somewhere that just hasn't been announced yet. He's probably already agreed to terms somewhere. Maybe he follows McDonald. I don't know. To Seattle, but I think the fact that it's not Weaver, in my opinion, I think that just solidifies he's going.
Yeah. And Brooks brings up a good point. Maybe Mike McDonald doesn't want to run the defense because he's a first-year head coach and just wants to do his thing. And I mean, there is a lot to learn. Yeah. Now you have to control everything. You're not just in defensive meetings. You're now meeting with the media. You're meeting with everybody else. You're meeting in special teams.
You're a CEO.
Maybe this means he brings in a Weaver. You're a CEO at this point. You're a Deion Sanders of the Seattle Seahawks, an NFL team. I really think Brooks makes up a good, and that's why Zach Orr became the DC. Maybe John Harbaugh saying, look, maybe I can give both these guys jobs next year because everyone is skewing away from the retreads. You can see the retreads are what's the only retread really?
I know Dan Quinn. Team that's not.
Yep. Dan Quinn, and then I'm not even calling Raheem Morris a retread because he was so fucking young when he took over that job.
Yeah, so long ago. Yeah, it's hard to consider him a retread. Yeah.
Man, I can't wait until you guys straight back from 2 and take Kirk Cousins or something. I'm sorry, boy. What were you saying?
Oh man.
No, I said and same with Harbaugh. I wouldn't consider him a retread either. Even though he got fired / left because they didn't get along, but yeah.
Fucking hated Trent Baalke. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I know who Zach Orr is. I obviously don't know him as well as you guys do, but it makes sense. Young guy, former player. That's the route a lot of these teams are going.
I think he's 31. I think he's 31 years old. It seems like he was playing linebacker for us like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
right.
I think it might have been 3 years ago.
Yeah, it might have been even more recently than that. But yeah, meteoric rise for him, and hopefully he can keep the ball rolling. Our defense was incredible this year, and we might be losing a few key pieces, but we're not 100% sure that how that's going to go yet. But he was an inside linebacker, so they were kind of the lifeblood of our team this year. We'll see if we can keep that going.
Yeah, he had the green dot. He had the green dot in the back of his helmet. And just real quick, I'm not going off topic. But I'll be real fast with this. You're starting to see now the NFL is changing. The NFL is getting away from these old generals. See the Bill Belichick, see the Bill Parcells, see the Dan Reeves. They're getting away from these old guys who would just fucking run everything like it was a militia. This is now really a players' league, and that's why you're seeing a lot of these players. See Gerard Mayo getting the job in New England.
Yeah. Yeah. Bottom line is players are going to respond better to people who played.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Antonio Pierce, you can see it right away. Their whole locker room just took a complete shift, 180 when they got rid of McDaniels, who everyone seems to have disliked pretty vehemently. And then, you put Antonio Pierce in there. He wins 4 out of his first 5 games, and the locker room's going crazy, and everyone loves it.
Aaron Glenn's the same way. People loved him, and their defense wasn't even good in Detroit, but players love him.
All right, I say we bag the golf stuff until next week, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, I got a couple golf guys that'll join us next week too. That probably
I think that makes more sense. And plus, I need time to digest what in the hell just occurred yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever that was.
Yeah, and we got to talk Super Bowl next week too. So we're gonna have a big podcast next week. Maybe we'll have 2 again. Who knows?
Cool.
Yeah, we might have 2 again. We got Delaware Dave coming in next week as well. We're gonna talk a little bit of bourbon. We might even have a bottle of Pappy show up on this podcast.
Ooh, okay. Nice little teaser for next week. I like that.
You fancy. All right, boys. Till next time.
All right, boys. Good stuff.
All right,
have
fellas.
a good one.
Yep.
Brooks, I love how you're in a different venue every single time. I don't know where you are now.
Keep you on your toes.
Keep moving. You got to keep people on toes. Yeah.
I want to do I want to do one full podcast on it. We're all in a shitter. We all look at each other's bathrooms. Now clothes on the shitter, please.
Maybe the next time one of our home team, God forbid, has a playoff meltdown, we'll do the next pod from the toilet.
Pod from the
All right, Brooks, you gonna do